Hello, everyone in Auvoria land. Welcome to the Saturday Trade Week forecast call. My name is Steve Vettorel, your CMA risk manager. Happy 4th of July to all of our American Auvorians. Hope it's a good day for everybody. You can celebrate with lots of fireworks. So let's do a quick check. If you could please make sure you're seeing the risk disclosure screen. You guys could just type something in the chat window. The Q&A window is open as well. Hopefully you can hear me. All right, good. So let's start off this morning with our friend, the risk disclosure. Okay. Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin and utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. Okay. Heed the warning on that because I think it's important. So looking at the organization as a whole, Auvoria Prime does not have any recommended settings. They're not a financial advisory firm. They just license software that you can use however you want and at your own risk and discretion. So the software does come with default settings upon initial setup, which our users have the ability to customize their settings however they want. They have nothing to do with a customer's broker account. We don't solicit or take investments. We don't recommend any brokers. Again, Auvoria Prime just licenses this software and sells amazing education that we get from our fabulous coaches. So hats off to everybody that's been putting a lot of hard work in that area. And the education can be accessed through the back office. So you can go in there to the dashboard, which I highly recommend. Showing a few folks this earlier in the week when I was actually together with some of the guys on my team. You just click on your product. So Alexander Einstein, and it walks through a whole tutorial and onboarding for the software. So if anybody needs to see kind of that in navigation, you can throw in a, hey, show us that screen, Steve, note, and I'll go through that at some point. So let's switch over to the forex calendar. Today is a big national holiday celebrating, I should say, independence for United States. So I'm going to have this call a little bit shorter, just go through this stuff real quick. So start typing your Q&A questions in. I anticipate this call, as I always seem to say, right, running about 20 to 30 minutes, so short and sweet. Not a lot going on next week that in terms of news. So let's take a look at the our favorite folder events. So you should see the Forex Factory screen. Let me make sure I'm sharing that. Okay, July 5th, which is tomorrow, Sunday, through July 11th. Always make sure to look at the date in the upper right-hand corner. I even sometimes get the date wrong myself. So I always go in and filter out anything that is not a red event because, frankly, I don't care about a lot of the gobbledygook that's out there in newsland. So once you hit that, you see that anything related to the Aussie dollar. So you have the RBA rate statement. Thing I don't know about the RBA is whether or not these guys have a Q&A session after this. That always seems to be perplexing me. You can go to their website if you want. The reason I always teach the Q&A is that whenever there's Q&A, then there's nothing scripted. You know, somebody could ask a particular question and catch one of these central bankers off guard, and they can make a straight statement, and then the currency goes crazy. And hopefully this goes crazy in our favor, right? But you never know. So you want to be careful of stuff like this. That's pretty much it. Friday, the unemployment rate in Canada. So if you're trading anything related to the Canadian ring, which we are in one of our test accounts, so that will actually be turned off before Friday morning. So let's take a look at the accounts. I had this question actually last week. So right here is the live account. So if you guys are, especially since sometimes you switch over, the data doesn't get, you can always go into here, just right click and just go all history if you're not seeing the whole history in the account. Because I always like to start off with when we funded it, right? And then where it is now at the bottom. Okay, those are the two things that I want to see. And the account has a bunch of trades. Let's actually switch over. Let me just switch over one quick thing here. I want to go back to the risk screen while I log in. There we go. For those of you that are raising your hand, you can just put a question in the Q&A box. It's easier than me just going through the questions in the chat. All right, so let's switch over here. Okay, so here's the big 25K account. This is live. My FX book I'm always talking about. Please hook this up. We would have avoided on our particular team just in the last week some problems with a bunch of trades that weren't set up and the settings that weren't set up correctly, even on our own team. So, I mean, guys on my own team, I just like, come on, you guys, just get with it. But you know, some people get onboarded and they don't get the full story, and you know, just make sure everybody in your team has the right settings. And it still just completely surprises me that even on my own team, which I could be somewhat at fault for, right? That some of the people just didn't have the right settings in because they didn't listen to some of the calls. So, you know, outside of me reading a riot act to my own team, I recommend everybody do that for their team as well. So the account did okay. It was up 1.4% that it got out. Here's the trade summary. Still really good win rates. Summary you can see here. Notice the complaint everybody was pulling around the profit factor related, and this is denominated in euros, of the Euro JPY portion of the ring we trade. You can see that it was more profitable than USD JPY. So again, you know, not smart enough to know what currencies are going to do better than the others. So it's best just to be diversified and trade a ring. So just do keep in mind for anybody trading the AUD ring, you do have that central bank statement on Monday. So I probably would not be having the software accepting any trades related around that, probably for a few hours, maybe a little bit more than the software is. You could certainly go into the settings and adjust, as you see here, the when to stop before news, when after. So the first question here is, hi, Steve, if you were to recommend one or two pairs to trade with in the coming week, as there are a lot of pairs, what might you suggest? So this is going to depend upon the size of the account. I would sincerely suggest, Peter, if you have not, do go into the back office, click on the dashboard, go to the product you trade, which is Einstein or Alexander or Iris for that matter, and just go to all the onboarding stuff and just go through it. It's a really short, quick hit, but it does a great job. We are, again, running the high volatility settings that you can see on the live account. But the ring that we recommend, as long as you're trading over $3,000 is what we recommend that we have. I have that actually in the notes, and sort of the notes comes in every week. This is the ring I prefer, okay? This is the ring that doesn't offer as many trades as some other currencies, right? But this ring on the settings that we have with, let me just scroll up the screen here, with our starting lot size at 0.01. I actually had one of my team members that had this starting lot size at 0.05 on a $2,000 account. And he was very lucky in the last couple of weeks to have done really well, because that was a ridiculously large lot size for that size of live account that he has. So we caught that and got that adjusted down to 0.01. But in all fairness, he did have a good couple of weeks. So I like this particular ring. If you have the time to put in, and I caution everybody, because I love Jesse's work on his trade tracking channel, but it will require some work. Okay, you want to put in, his strategy is not a plug and play. And the great thing about his channel is that he just trades the GBP NZD, which puts out the most trades by almost a factor of 3 in the course of a given week. But just understand that it's an aggressive stance. It's one single pair. It's not diversified among a ring of 3, as I suggest, at least for those trading over $2 or $3,000 in a live account. The currency's been, he does a lot of charting and so forth on there. A lot of stuff I just don't have time to do. But I'll tell you, I love his channel, guys, and I really would recommend following it. But do yourself a favor, follow it, set up a demo account. You know, if you don't know what you're doing and some of the stuff he explains is confusing, for gosh sakes, please do not set up a live account and go nuts with GBP and ZD, okay? But this is the ring that we will continue to trade until our data tells us otherwise, right? So keep in mind all the stuff on the big accounts, or I should say the big account, which is right here, or the small live account I have, they are trading the exact same settings. And the large account is trading 0.01 per 3 grand. So this is all documented in detail on my trade tracking channel. So, Kyle, your question is where to go to follow Jesse. So go to the back office. Let me just navigate everybody here. I know this is going to seem redundant for some, but just bear with me here. This does get kind of confusing. So if you go to the dashboard, see these products right here? Click on whatever. So I'll click on Einstein. Okay, everything shows up almost the same. So this is all the onboarding, right? So a lot of really good videos, setting expectations. You can go through all this stuff, going through setting up the software, setting it up on your phone, so forth. But at the bottom, you got to scroll way down, okay? Here is the trade tracking. So I would highly suggest everybody go to the back office, click on your product, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, boom. There's the channels right there. And you can follow these guys. So what else of note do I want to mention? Yes, the software is currently in drawdown. You can see where we are as far as performance. It's good to squeak out some pretty decent returns in the face of a really volatile last couple of months, especially that first week in June, which was just torturistic to some accounts. This happens every once in a while, guys. Guarantee it will happen again. This is the reason why it is very important to have these settings relative to how much real money you're running. Do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. It's really the bottom line. Anybody that has sent me an email that has taken a picture of this settings and or gone through and set up a MyFX book, which I suggest everybody do, even for demo accounts, we found problems inside the settings. We've had people tell us that they can't afford to lose the money that they've lost. So in almost every case where there was some complaint or help-based or urgency-based email that I got, all had those factors in common. So as your risk manager, as a broken record that I sound like, I still think it's critical to understand that and communicate that to your team. You know, there will be times where this martingale type software strategic trade structure will work. Historically, it works the vast majority of the time. And I've seen data all the way back over 10 years. There are products coming out that we have in the pipeline. I do not know the release dates. I have been privy to some really good numbers that trades on smaller accounts, and they use a different strategy, like a trending type of strategy. So stay tuned for some of that. I know I probably say it every week. Everybody's like, hey, release the software already. So, but that's not my choosing. So don't ask me any questions about that. So Elizabeth asks, I saw you trade from Sunday to Friday for this account. Is it recommended? You know, as long as you have the settings right, you know. I know that we usually have the software out of the market at some point on Wednesday, depending on what kind of big news stories coming down, obviously, for the week. But I usually want to have, and I know that a lot of people like Jesse, they trade through everything, okay? But I caution that, and keep in mind, we choose to start 4 hours after the market opens, guys. That's why it says Monday, hour 1, okay? So typically what happens, and it's not always the case, but typically what happens in FX land, markets open up Sunday night, spreads stink, markets are volatile right out of the gate. It's just aggressive. It's really risky stuff. I'm not interested in playing inside a market that is wackadoo, okay? So typically Thursdays and Fridays, depending on news, just don't have the kind of win rates historically that the rest of the week. That's why the key is, and you always hear us talking about, try and get your returns later Sunday night into Monday and Tuesday. Those are typically the best times in forex as far as win rates are. All right. Okay, so question on MyFX. So here is the website. I'll just pop this in chat. No, I want that. Let's go to the other one. All right, here we go. Pop this right into chat. This is a link to MyFX. One thing when you're setting this up that I would suggest is if you're ever going to share this with anybody, you can actually lock all this stuff up. But if you lock, there's a lot of different locks you can go on this. I'm not going to get in and sign in and do all that stuff here. But you can just go in and make sure you unlock all this stuff if you ever send me a link to it. You can always lock it back up after I've looked at it. But there's what I absolutely need to be able to see is the trades. I need to be able to say history, the open trades, determine whether or not you're in drawdown like we are here, versus looking at win rates. There's a lot of problems that I can see just by looking at these stats, glancing at for 10 or 20 seconds. And you could do an exceptionally deep dive into this stuff, like looking into drawdowns. By the way, I don't show this screen much, but this is a great example of why the high volatility settings, see how they're protecting us? Look at some of our biggest drawdowns, 10.7, right? That was a nuts week. So was the first parts of June, but we actually had the software off for the first week because it was just bananas. But looking at, these are not bad drawdowns, guys. If you're looking at old iterations of this software back way before Auvoria, some of these drawdowns were in the 30 and 40%. It was nuts. And a lot of that was just related to the settings not being really dialed in like they are. So we will continue to refine these. I would not recommend, if you do not know what you're doing, taking this stop loss above 250. Okay, that's why with these settings, these are able to, especially on the big 25K euro count, we're able to endure almost 1,000 pip move in this currency ring with those high volatility and real small starting lot size. So I covered that. What else did I want to mention? So this was confusing among my group than when we met earlier this week. A lot of them just had it on fixed weekly. And remember, you can double click, drop this down to fixed weekly. And then the line below it becomes active. Okay, so then your goal and these numbers can be changed. My team, they didn't understand, some of the newer guys in the team didn't understand how any of the 4 areas below work. So if you have trailing equity set, as we do here, the fixed weekly goal is inoperable. It's just not functional, okay? But the trailing equity start is active, meaning that if this account goes up 2%, it'll activate, meaning it's starting to now hunt through the software and protect it. So it's almost like you hired a security team to come into your software and start watching over everything, right? That way, if it falls back 1%, you're out. It's protecting your profit, okay? So when you have trail equity active as your profit management type, you want to make sure that you have days that you close out your trail. I know some people argue Thursday, some people argue Friday. Honestly, I haven't done a deep of enough dive on that. You can certainly argue to close this out, Thursday, Friday, what have you. Close it out Wednesday if you want. But just know that these are the recommended settings that I'm dishing out. Once you learn all this stuff, or you have a much higher tolerance for risk, you're welcome to make changes to these, but just know what you're doing. All right, what else did I want to talk about? So we covered that back office. What else did I want to talk about? Yeah, I do remember we got those 2 ways to get into the VPS, which is now good. Got all the channel results. Do do me a favor if you guys have a lot of my FX book links coming out to you guys from different people. Try not to, because we caught one of our guys in our group who was like, "Hey, we should do this," and you really don't want to be sharing these links because the problem with that is, and put yourself in the position of a regulator, right? So somebody at the NASD, which is now called FINRA, or the SEC, or any of the state regulatory bodies that monitor securities industry. If somebody's out here touting performance, which is the big deal with these guys, they're going to start digging deeper into this. And so please do us and do your colleagues and everybody a favor, and don't go out sharing all these links. Don't sell the software on somebody's amazing week, right? Because they could certainly come in and not have the settings right and have a really poor couple of weeks, and then you're just basically selling on performance. So disclaimers are not. I really would like to not see any of that. I mean, luckily I haven't seen any egregious activity in that area, and I think that's because we're all hanging from the mountains yelling out, don't do that, because it's going to get us all into trouble. And I promise you, these people are out there looking to build their careers. Don't give them dissatisfaction. So if there's no other questions anybody has, we're going to end this call real soon. So give you a couple seconds, throw some questions in. Anybody's got a question on anything, you can always send me. Actually, let me jump back to that screen. Here is my info. Okay, that's Vettorel@AuvoriaPrime.com. It's got to be a picture of your settings, right? Word your question in a format that I can actually understand, and make sure you give me a link to your MyFX book. So it's not that difficult to hook this up. It is kind of tricky. There are a couple of videos out there. Let me just jump back to it. There are a couple of videos out there that actually show you how to hook up your MyFX book. You want to make sure that the key thing here is that you get 2 check marks here. That way we know everything's verified and there's no baloney going on. Cool. Guys, everybody, have a happy 4th of July if you are an American. If you're overseas, have a fantastic weekend. You guys got any questions, keep your eye on the trade tracking channel. And I wish everybody well. May the trades be with you.